Johnoveracker. I'm the Deputy Chief of the Fairport Fire Department. About 3:29 this morning, the Fairport Fire Department was dispatched for a report of an apartment fire at the Pines of Perinton. First arriving units found a large volume of smoke coming from the roof of the Pines of Perinton apartment. The initial arriving companies forced entry into the fire department and found the apartment fully involved. After fire suppression activities started, we found that it had extended into the roof and it actually worked along the roof to neighboring units. A total of 18 units were involved, and we've actively declared the fire under control at 8:45 this morning. The residents that live in those units have been relocated to the Town of Perinton Community Center to provide facilities for them to keep warm and things like that. And the Red Cross is actively working with them to find emergency housing. The Pines of Perinton staff is also working with the fire department along with the sheriff's department and the ambulance to verify that all of the residents have been taken care of and that there's no injuries. We did have an initial report of an individual who experienced a medical emergency. However, that individual, it turned out to be unrelated to the fire, and they were actually not transported as initially we had thought. At the location right now, we do have fire departments from Monroe County and Wayne County, including many partners from all over, including the Monroe County Sheriff's Office, our neighboring fire departments, the Monroe County Fire Bureau. And at this point, it's still an active scene that we are working. We are going to be here most of the day, engaged in what we call overhaul operations. And at this point, I'm willing to entertain any questions that you may have.
How did the call come in again?
The call came in at 3:29 this morning. It was dispatched as an apartment on fire. And as I said, the first arriving units arrived to find smoke coming from the roof of the building. And after forcing entry, found the apartment fully involved.
Talk about the second alarm call and how does that get determined?
Sure. So command staff, when they get on location, they make a determination if they have adequate resources to deal with the fire. Our initial arriving resources were quickly tapped out. We did have one hydrant. Apologize for that. We had one hydrant that was broken off at the stem, so we were not able to use it. So after finding additional resources for water supply, it kind of provided a kink in the mix for us, so we had to find other hydrants to use, including up on the main road here on 250. That second alarm assignment, and I've actually eventually reached the third alarm assignment with resources and people.
Chief, what are some of the challenges when you have an apartment unit that's this large?
So apartment buildings like this, one of the biggest problems for us initially is accounting for people. The individuals in the actual fire units and the adjoining units took us some time to confirm their whereabouts and their location. In working with the sheriff's office, we've been able to determine where those individuals are. We are in the process of conducting a search. A search was initially conducted when we initially declared the fire. We're doing what we call a secondary search to double check and confirm that there's no occupants in the building.
Are there any firewalls in between these apartments that help stop?
There are firewalls. However, in this particular case, some of those firewalls didn't hold running the roof. In regards to injuries, there was no injuries directly related to the fire on the fire department side or at the resident side.
How much of a miracle is that? I mean, you saw this fire driving up. It looks biblical. I mean, how much of a miracle is it that no one was injured in this fire?
Well, a lot of this is, I can tell you right now, being the first arriving officer, smoke alarms were going off when we first arrived. Smoke alarms do save lives. And in this particular case, that provides an early warning to all the residents. The quick actions of the initial arriving company to knock down the bulk of the fire initially was huge. They did an excellent job at that. Some of these guys have been out here since 3 o'clock this morning, so they're whooped. We're in the process of trying to get some of those crews replaced and relieved. But it truly is something that we train for and something that we pride ourselves in the ability to take care of our own as well as our community.
How do you manage a head count and an exit for a fire this big with so many units? 68 people, 67 people?
Sure. So a lot of this depends on us working in coordination with the property management company. Property management company actually, in this particular case, maintains a very accurate roll of who's living here. And we've actually been able to use that information in conjunction with working with our partners to determine all their whereabouts and locations.
Is there an early theory on the cause of this
It's currently under investigation by the Monroe County Fire Bureau, and I would hate to comment or speculate on a cause at this point.
Do you guys work with the staff here on fire prevention, fire safety, inspections, all?
Yep, so the Town of Perinton Fire Marshal's Office conducts inspections here regularly. The Fairport Fire Department actively participates in fire prevention activities, mostly geared towards juveniles in the property. We do assist some of the summer recreation programs with fire prevention activities and things like that.
Talk about the fire. Once it gets into the roof, it can pretty much go anywhere, and it's spread quickly. Seems
Yeah,
like.
so this building is an entirely wood-constructed building, so it's wood framed with a wood roof and a rubber roof on top of that. So what happens is that once the wood frame roof structures get involved, number one, access to that there's no true attic space, so you have to pull ceilings down to get to it. And then at that point, it's already started to run. We actually had to use techniques using saws and other things to basically cut fire breaks in the roof to prevent that fire from traveling along the roof.
Talk about the collaboration with the other departments in Monroe County and in
Sure.
Wayne County. What does it mean to have good collaboration, and how did it work today?
Yep, so the 5 departments that cover the town of Perinton, we work together routinely, both through training and drills and other calls and events and things like that. Monroe County has a very robust, what we call a mutual aid plan, where all of our departments work together, and that mutual aid plan extends to all of our neighboring counties and across the state. So it's not unusual for us, if we have a severe incident like this, to call for help from our neighbors who provide that assistance at no questions asked. So.
Can you just recap the amount of apartments affected by this?
Sure.
Obviously, we can see, a fairly significant amount here damaged.
Yep.
Are there going to be people who are out of the building for a significant amount of time whose apartments were not damaged in the fire? Is this what are we looking at time-wise here for people to get back in?
So as I stated, there are 18 units that were involved. In those units, obviously, all of those individuals will have to get emergency housing through the Red Cross is providing that. Timeline for getting back into the building is really between the building management, the insurance companies, and the fire marshal's office. But that could take quite some time before they're able to get back in.
So total number of affected units would be what again?
18. 18 units were affected.
How many people were evacuated?
I don't have a true number because those were actually handled through RTS as well as the sheriff's office. Everybody on that particular section of Honeysuckle Terrace was relocated, as I said, to the Perinton Recreation Center, and they're actually providing some facilities for them to stay at.
And the units that were not affected, those residents are.
Yeah, so what will happen is for the units that weren't affected, the town fire marshal's office will conduct an inspection of those units to determine that they're habitable. If those units are habitable, the fire marshal will give the okay and green light for them to go back in.
A lot of pets are unaccounted for right now. I know it's secondary to human life, but
Sure.
A lot of pets are unaccounted for. Is there any word on?
So we did receive knowledge that there were a couple of pets that were unaccounted for. We did manage to find one, still alive, and that particular pet has been reunited with their family.
Can you give a number of manpower, the staff that was on from 3 o'clock to 8:45?
So not having the exact number in front of me, there's anywhere between 60 to 70 people that are here actively engaged in firefighting operations.
Talk about hydrants too in terms of
Yep.
clearing them out, because I know that it looked like some might be shoveled
Sure.
out to get access to.
So fortunately for a commercial property like this, they're generally really good about shoveling their hydrants out. In this particular case, we did have one hydrant that looked like it was struck by a snowplow. That's why the hydrant wasn't usable. But it is critically important for us because every second counts. And as you can see in a place like this, if there's a potential that extra 2 or 3 seconds gets us in there faster, shoveling out hydrants makes a huge benefit for us to be able to get in there as quickly as possible.
Where was the unused hydrant, in the facility or out here on 2?
No, the hydrant that was damaged that we were not able to use is a private hydrant belonging to the Pines of Perinton. So it was inside the complex.
Any idea when that happened, or could they tell you?
No idea.
Will they be cited for that?
That's up to the town fire marshal's office. Generally, stuff like this, it's totally within their jurisdiction if they're going to handle that.
Chief, spell your first and last name one more time.
Yep. My first name is John, John. My last name is Overacker, O-V as in Victor, E-R-A-C-K-E-R.
guys have any more updates? They're just going to come like in a press release probably?
Yep. So we'll work through the PIO's office at the sheriff's office just to set up any times. We do have a operational briefing with my command staff, actually at 10 o'clock. So I'll meet with them, and we should have more of an update later on this morning and maybe early this afternoon.
About how long do you think crews are going to be on scene like this?
The crews are going to be on scene throughout the day. We're actually in the process of trying to get some contractual equipment out here to be able to work on the building to get into stuff. So, all right. Thank you.